All right, let's talk about the incredible momentum building behind the electric vehicle maker NIO. We're seeing everything from record production numbers to new markets opening up, and a real frenzy of investor interest. Seriously, something big is happening here, so let's get right into it.
So, NIO has been on an absolute tear lately, just hitting one piece of good news after another. We're talking major milestones in how many cars they're making, their global expansion plans, and of course, investor confidence. So, what's really fueling all this excitement? Let's dive into the data and see what's going on.
First up, let's talk production, because this is where things get really impressive. The company is hitting some absolutely incredible numbers with its ES8 model. And when you see them laid out, you'll see what I mean.
Get this. NIO just hit a massive milestone. They delivered their 50,000th ES8. Now, reaching that number in about 4 months is a record-breaking pace, no doubt about it. But the real story, the fascinating part, is how they got there.
Okay, so this is where it gets kind of crazy. Look at how they ramped up. The first 10,000 cars took them 41 days. The next 10,000, they shaved that down to just 29 days. Then it was 19, and that last sprint from 30,000 to 40,000 vehicles, an unbelievable 11 days. The speed was just accelerating like a rocket. But hang on a second. If you look closely at the numbers, that final 10,000 cars needed to hit the big 50K mark, that took 21 days. So what's the deal? Did they suddenly hit the brakes? Is this some kind of slowdown? Well, not exactly. There were two key things going on. First, you had this massive all-out rush at the end of the year to get cars delivered before some tax subsidies changed. And second, right after that mad dash, the factory took a well-deserved break for a few days for the New Year's holiday. So it wasn't a slowdown, it was more like a return to reality. And that's the crucial takeaway here. This isn't a story about a slowdown. It's about finding a new, sustainable, and still incredibly impressive pace. Taking 21 days to deliver 10,000 cars really establishes a strong baseline. It shows they can comfortably pump out around 15,000 ESAs a month, with plenty of room to grow.
Okay, so with production clearly dialed in and running smoothly, NIO is now starting to look outward. Let's see how all this success at home is paving the way for a huge expansion into North America.
A massive barrier to entry has just been torn down. For years, there was this absolutely crippling 100% tariff that basically made it impossible for Chinese EV makers to even think about selling in Canada. But now, that's gone. It's been replaced by a new agreement where both countries are actually lowering taxes on imports. The door is now wide open.
And this is a total game changer. It basically unlocks the entire Canadian market. Now, sure, it's not as big as China, but for any company that has dreams of global domination, this is a vital piece of the puzzle. This new policy creates a clear runway for brands like NIO to come in and compete.
All right, next up, let's look at how NIO is performing in a really specific and super competitive part of the market. And they're doing it with their sub-brand, Firefly.
And wow, this chart just says it all. You know, there's this global trend for smaller, more affordable EVs. So NIO launched its Firefly brand to go right after that booming market. And they aren't just competing. They have a staggering 61% of the market share. That means all of their competitors combined don't even come close.
To really put that 61% number into perspective, think about this. Firefly has more of the market than some of the biggest legacy automakers out there. We're talking Volkswagen's ID series, BMW's Mini, and Mercedes Smart, all put together. It is absolute domination of that category. So, production is humming, new markets are opening up, so what do the people with the big money think? Let's follow the money and look at the ultimate vote of confidence, investment. This quote from NIO's CEO, it just perfectly captures the feeling out there. He actually said that the demand to invest in the company is so intense that some governments were, and these are his words, begging NIO to do another funding round just so they could get a piece of the action. That is an absolutely incredible level of demand. So why this mad rush? Well, these big investors, we're talking state funds and major capital firms, they're playing the long game. They're looking right past the day-to-day blips in the stock price. They see the growth, they see the market dominance with brands like Firefly, and they believe in the company's success. And for some of these governments, it's also a practical thing. They can only invest in local companies, and they need NIO to create those opportunities for them right there in China. At the end of the day, this whole thing is a story about belief.
These major investors are looking at the whole picture, the production lines, the new markets, the brand power, and they're all coming to the same conclusion. This is a company that's poised to win. And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? You've got record production setting a solid foundation. You've got new international markets opening up. You've got sub-brands that are just crushing their competition. And all of it is backed by this intense, almost desperate investor demand. When you put all those pieces together, you just have to ask, is true global domination what comes next?